Yes, it's Mama Liz. Yes, I have on fake lashes. No, my hair isn't done. Deal with it. Everybody's sending me these clips of Ryan's 2 new videos about Nicole Arbor. Yes. She is like Canadian herpes, apparently. I don't know the woman. I can't say anything about her as an individual, but what I can say about her and the way that I see her go through people in celebrity circles, is she very much has the view of they're the trailer park and she's the tornado and she should be able to do whatever she wants to do. Now, all of this is just my opinion, how I see what's going on, the way that I would look at this, the way that I would pay attention to this, the way that I would finesse the situation. And the first thing I would do when I would be issuing cease and desist letters all the way around for any kind of contact, any kind of annoyance, any kind of harassment, document. Any phone calls to me, any person on my staff, to anyone about me, any emails, even online statements. Document. But the next thing is look at what she's reporting to law enforcement. Look for lies, look for slander, libel, look for harassment, and using law enforcement as a tool for harassment. Speak to your lawyer about that. There's also a thing that you can do if you feel that you're in danger and you feel like this is like one of those stalking, domestic violence, I can't get out of her web because she's obsessed with me and I think my life is in danger thing. Talk to a domestic violence organization and enlist any and all tools that they have to help keep you safe, to help you learn to train your brain to think ahead of the game for someone who may be paranoid about you, completely exhilarated about you, completely consumed about you. Start paying attention to this. Start actively seeing this as someone that is in many ways possibly going down a very sad, traumatic rabbit hole of potentially some mental health issues, and you being the target or what they would see as the anchor, and them spiraling out of control and seeing you as the anchor. You don't deserve to be in that role. Now, there are also a number of things that you can do. You can talk to law enforcement in your area, talk to the DA in your area, hire an attorney, see if you can get any kind of orders of protection, any kind of restraining orders, anything to document. I don't want you around me and I don't want to be around you, so I'm putting up paperwork that says we both can't be around each other, because if that's the only way that I can make you aware that I don't want to be around you, so be it. Now, will that piece of paper keep somebody away from you if they want to be around you? No, we all know that. But it does show the court that you took those steps to attempt to at least create a barrier and notify them of that barrier. All you're trying to do is make yourself look as though you've tried everything in the world, so that when it does have to go to court, potentially and horribly for something far worse, you can show that I tried. I tried every way in the world. You all did not help me, and I was struggling to try to create this boundary, this barrier. Y'all did not help me, and this is what happened. If the roles were reversed and this were male-female and the male was stalking the female, there would be every instance of every kind of agency coming out of the woodwork to start to help them. So what I would say, hey, you know something? Start having your little girl there. Bethy, you got a job. Start having your little girl, start calling places and say, I have a friend, they're being stalked. Don't say sex, don't say gender, just say, I have a friend, they're being stalked. Because they're speaking to a woman, they're going to assume that it's a woman friend. And they're going to give you all these lifelines to call. You're going to call those lifelines and then say, but it's a male, and he's being stalked by a female. And we're going to see if they still work. See what they tell you. Document. The phone call, the time of the date it was placed, and literally, we're Tennessee, research the phone laws, but I think only one party needs to know they're being recorded. Document the phone calls so that we can see how horribly this fails women and men, but it's going to fail men a whole lot worse, I can already tell you. Document. Try to enlist any kind of aid that they make you aware of. If that says, oh, sorry, for a man, we can't do that, document, document, document. What you need to show beyond the aggressor being aggressive and stalking and harassing and allegedly you all, you need to show that you've tried to go through every avenue that is out there for people in this position of either sex, but it has greatly failed the male that's going through this. And this will become much more than just a personal issue that Ryan's going through. It will become a public story that can potentially open up people's eyes to the imbalance in this world and hopefully create a better scenario where men and women can get better aid for this type of issue. But report everything. Report everything. Paper trails save your butts. And I wish there was more that I could say, but unfortunately, in my opinion, there are women that are flaming hot Cheetos, that all they do once you've had a taste of them is make your ass burn because you knew better than have anything to do with them, and it hurts afterward. There's a pain afterwards, and you remember that pain, and you never want another bag of flaming hot Cheetos in your life. But unfortunately, sometimes them flaming hot Cheetos attach. They affix to you. Almost like a lamprey on a shark. They're a sucker fish. And because they have nothing of their own, they try to take everything of yours. And it is how they roll. It is how they function. It is normally how they generate the majority of their livelihood. Now, that's not to say that all pretty women don't have brains and don't have the ability to create huge corporations to be successful. Obviously, there are lots of women that are in positions of power and they've gotten there honestly and by their own regard. That's great. But what we're seeing here is an example of why women get bad names. And why women can't always be trusted. And why women take a lot of time in our court system that is not necessary. And why when women scream abuse, not every head turns because of issues like this. When you overstep the bounds and you take advantage of these safeties that help real people in real trouble, when you're not in real trouble, you're basically just kicking every woman that actually is in a domestic violence situation or in a bad situation. You're basically just kicking them square in the face because you're making it harder for them to get the aid they need, the belief from the individuals that elicit the aid, and to feel good about getting it. So that's where I would start. And I would possibly also go to a counselor and start talking to a counselor about this, because a counselor is a mandatory reporter, and if a counselor hears anything that comes out of you that breaks the law or puts you in danger that the other party may have done, they're obligated to report it. Well, there's a third party. You know, you got the primary, the secondary, friends, family, work acquaintances. Now we've got a tertiary, a counselor hearing about these issues that breach legal standards and must be reported. Build a barrier around you with a good team, with good people. As many people that can be as help hold everyone else responsible as possible, and then look into the professionals for that tertiary, that third boundary, because they're mandatory reporters. So if you're just reporting something and the cops are brushing it off, but it is something that's very dangerous or does violate the law, or is perhaps a red flag for a concern about a mental health issue or something, that therapist will have to report it. And then sometimes that can lead to holds, involuntary holds, investigations, and on and on and on. Sometimes having a third layer of working professionals report things kind of spurs activity on. I know that a lot of parents, when I was working in counseling, a lot of parents were reporting things, a lot of family members were reporting things, and law enforcement and the judicial system would be kind of laid back on it. But when a therapist heard from that person's mouth or that child's mouth the story, and it violated law, and they were a mandatory reporter and had to mandatorily report it, immediate investigation. Just a thought. Just a thought. And that's where I am, people. Use your smarts, use resources, use as many places that document behaviors and what you're going through, and that can be used as testimony, or the notes they take on you can be seen as admissible in court. Think smart. Think smart. Because if somebody's bothering you enough to where you have to seek out help because of the stress and the pain they're causing you, you might as well be able to use those notes in court. You might as well have somebody that has to report certain things to the state, to federal record-keeping agencies that could create another investigation. Be smart. Don't see it as just you alone trying to handle the scenario. Be aware that there are resources that go beyond those small domestic violence phone calls. Do you have a room? Do you have a safe place to hide me? Can you get me a hotel room for the night? It goes far beyond that. And women have learned in the last 2-3 decades to weave a web of protection by using these agencies. But the thing is men can use them very much the same way. And I'm not saying use them inappropriately. I'm saying use them appropriately, and know how they function to save your butt, because this is how they function to save your butt. It's not like a big trick. It's not me trying to hoodoo anybody. That's how they're used to save your butt. That's their role, is to report, listen, and report anything that is illegal or that could be seen as dangerous. Use these agencies to do what they're supposed to do, which is help you through a very dark time in life where you're hurting. They know how to help. Be smart about it. Make sure the people you enlist also have the obligation to report these things. Mandatory reporters are great things, because then it's just not your paper trail, it's somebody else's paper trail. And when more people start talking about this, and questionable abuse and questionable behavior and questionable harassment, stalking, slander, I'm worried about the mental health of my client because of all this animosity that's being, angled toward him. You might tell the law, oh, she's driven by the house 15 times, and then be like, oh, she didn't come on the property. But a therapist might say, oh, that's a red flag for me to think that maybe there's something, an imbalance there that needs to be looked into before someone gets hurt. And that report would carry much more weight than just somebody screaming, they've driven by my house 15 times to the cops. So just be aware and look at your agencies, especially family court agencies, and especially mental health places that work hand in hand and in tandem with the courts and prisons and stuff like that. Give their agencies and their websites a once over and see what things they offer, and start understanding the link between mental health, falsification of reports, falsification of information, stalking, harassing, paranoia, and start understanding how the law and all of that weave in together, and how this agency weaves in together to handle this, because it's going to be in that trifecta where this ends up. It's not going to be a straight civil case. It's not going to be a straight criminal case. It's not. Whatever happens is going to be something that's going to have 1 to 2 courts messed up with it, and then you're going to have a mental health component in there as well, because of this long-term ongoing issue of someone harassing you when you've moved on, gone on, moving on out. So be aware. Start to understand those agencies now, because I almost guarantee that should this issue continue, they're all going to be intertwined, and you're going to have to learn how to navigate them anyway. So I could be more help, but I can't on here, because I would need more specific information that should not be put on the internet. So that's your Mama Liz's recommendations right there. She's using every avenue to aggress. You need to use every avenue to monitor and make a paper trail, and possibly get professionals to report on the behavior, because we already know that your reporting doesn't do a whole lot. Paper trails, recordings, reports, paperwork, from as many sources, as many credible professional sources as possible. Cover your butt and make sure everyone knows what's going on, everyone sees it, and those that need to also send in a report about it can do so. You can't minimize this problem and make it go away. These things like to hide in the dark. You have to shine the light on it and show it for what it is. All the ugly details, everything. And then maybe, if they know that everything will be out there, all of it, even the dirty stuff that they don't think can be placed out there, maybe that will change their mind from trying to intervene in someone else's life negatively, stalk, harass, and think that they're winning something, because they're not. This is just, it's a sad, for all parties included here, this is a sad way to live life. It's a sad way to interact with others, and it's a sad way to think that you are winning, making someone submit, subjugating someone, creating a submissive behavior into you're not. You're just creating a toxic environment and a very toxic pattern that people are going to start to notice, and then life's going to get really lonely because nobody wants to be around someone like that. Ryan, I'm really sorry this is happening to you. Keep my fingers crossed for you and toss up some prayers, bud. It's going to get worse for you. It's better, I guarantee.